everyone, I want to walk you through this number 27 on page 444 to 445. I realize this is a different problem, that this is the 7th edition book. This is going to be a different updated problem that you will be experiencing. So this is a new problem from any other edition that you have. So this is referring to the 7th edition. Make sure this is the 7th edition page I'm referring to in your book with it. But here's, so I thought I'd just make sure everybody's on the same page. So I put the problem on to the screen. Look at this function prototype you have. This function prototype is the reference parameter is A, and the reference parameter here is C, the value parameter, and this is passing across as the value parameter with it. This is the function that we're looking at down here is the find. This is the same problem. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't copy that right, just realized that. So this is reference, and this is not a reference, and this is one that's reference. And this is what it looks like in that same problem that you have on page 445 with this thing. Before we get started on the left-hand side over here, to save us some time, I create a table over here so you could see what's inside of the left column here. This first column signifies each one of these functions being called. I did this as a trace table. I hope by now you're familiar with the trace table with it. And the trace table signifies how each one of these memories, how it's being passed in as the function as a reference A and the value B and the reference is C. Remember that I also have the temp here as the temp for this thing. So just walk through this with me, and I will go through with you with it as well. The first one, initialize assigning number 1 to the variable 1, 2, 3, and 3. So just really quick, how I actually would do this is on the top here, I'm going to write 1, okay, on here. Let me get this to a font here, a letter here, so I can actually write here. So this is the 1 that's going to be written here, and then the B is going to be passed to. Remember now, this is 1, function 1 is being called, 2, 3 is in place of reference A, B, and 3 is the one that is the reference in C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to actually put 2 and C would be the actual 3. Okay, so as you can see, I'm putting this on top of the columns. That's what you have. So what is 1 right now? So 1, if you look at here, 1 is assigned as to the variable 1. So in your first function that you have, it comes across here as 1. Your B is going to be the 2. Your C is going to be the 3. And what you're going to see is the next step, you call this function find. This is what you pass in as 1, 2, and 3. Comes down here, calls the function find, pass in 1, 2, and 3. Now remember, now the ampersand signifies what? The reference parameter. That will change up here when you do a cout on this thing on 1. So take a look at what is temp. Here is temp. I've declared a column over here called temp for you, as you can see. So here's temp. Now let's look at A plus B. What's your A? 1 plus B is 2. Now is equal to your 1 plus 2. Make sure I got a copy of this right. I miscopied that. My apology. The actual problem states it's actually A times B. A times B plus 2. That's what the problem states. Let me check this, make sure. And it also reverses. My apology. It's actually temp equals to C is what, and then B and then temp times. Okay, and one more statement that I left out of this thing is as well as it's actually A is equal to A plus C minus B. Okay, so this is what the problem states. I didn't get all the functions in here, but make sure that we got everything that we needed on this one right here. So look at this function right now. So you got one as in 1, 2, and 3 to start out with it. And it tells you to come down here to put in a 1 here, multiply with your 2, add it with 3, set it equal to C, which is what? That should be is 4, correct? So my new one here is 4. Okay, so that's 4. Now, C is equal to temp, so my temp over my C would look like this. Okay, that's my C. My B equals to 2. I come in here, B equal to 2. False. I do not execute this. I ignore this line. I come down here. I look at this. A plus C. A is 1. Here's my A. Plus C is my 4. 5 minus 2 equals 3. Okay, and that equals to 3 over here. Get here. Okay, so that's my 3. I'm going to put a circle around it because it's a reference parameter. That's what's going to actually be reported, right? I want to put a circle around this right here as well. Okay, I'll tell you why in a second, because this is what's going to go back to is the actual value with it. Let's take a look at the last step. It tells you to take the temp, which is 4, multiply it with the B, which is 2. 4 times 2 equals C. That now is your 8. And I want to put a circle around it. So, if I output this, at this time, I'm going to output this thing to the screen. So output what's on display. Okay. After the first line, it's going to come out as what? It's asking you to display cout 1, comma, space 2, comma, space 3. Here's my 1 is 3, comma, space 2, comma, space 3 is my 8. Okay? And then I go down to the next line. So that's the next line for this thing. Now, you gotta be careful now. The second function calls is this. Alright? It moves the second parameter into the first parameter. The first parameter, 1, is now moved to the second parameter, and 3 is kept as 3. Okay, same third position. Alright? So how do we do this? You gotta look at this, be carefully with this thing. So this is the one that I've already created for you, is this second line right here. So what I like to do is come up here. I'm going to cross this out. Cross out this. Cross this out. Because we're going to pass across here as 2. We're going to pass across here as 1. We're going to pass, keeping this as the 3. That's our second function. Still the same. Okay? So, what happens? This 2 right here now is passed as what? This 2, here's your 2, is passed as the second time. That's coming down as 1 in the 1 position. Right? So your second time as you pass this is 2, 1, 3. 2, 1, 3. This one right here. 2, 1, 3. But 2 is in the position of A, reference A. 2 is in the position of reference A. 1 is the value B. Okay, passed by just a copy of it. And 3 is a reference of C. So how do we do this? How do we do this? Well, we know the 8, let's do the easy one. The 8 is going to remain as the same. So I'm just going to put an arrow. I'm going to take that 8 down here. I'm going to circle that 8. That's what we started out with. Okay? And then you're going to actually move the 1. Here's the 1. Okay, here's the 1. This 1 right here is going to actually move to the position. So here's your 2. Your 2 now, this is going to actually come over here. It's going to become the 3 here. And this 2 is going to be here. So it's basically swapping. This is the 2 that used to be here. Now it's the 1 that's coming over here. This used to be the 1. Now, as you can see, this 2 is swapped over here, and this 1 is now over here. That's all you're doing, right? So let me start out with this. Let me start with this right here. So you start with 2, 3, and an 8 going into this thing. Now, inside of this thing, you got to be very careful looking at this thing. Inside of this thing, it says your next statement, again, you're repeating, is if A multiplied by B plus 2. A is what? A is 2 multiplied by B. 6 plus 2 is 8. Correct? 6 plus 2. I'm sorry. No. Yeah, hang on. Now I'm confused myself with it. A, which is 2, times 3 plus 2, that's going to be an 8. Okay? That's going to be your new 8 with it. Now, if you take temp C, this is going to be an 8 over here because you're putting it into the temporary memory with this thing. Coming down here, look at the structure right here. So you look at the structure, B it will be false, so you ignore this. The next line is this: A plus B, C minus B. A plus C minus B equals A. That's how you want to read that. So it's actually what? 2 plus 3 minus 3 equals 7. So I'm going to write this like that formula does it with it. So this is 7. It's equal by 2 plus 8 minus 3. So this is now the new ampersand A is the 7. Okay? You have a 3. We're not done yet. It tells you to do B, multiply it with temp equals the new C. So if you look at B is what? 3, right? Multiplied by 3 equals C is what? It's 24. So let me just write this as 24. So this is your 3 multiplied with 8. So this is going to be your new with it. So, hang on, we're not out yet. Not out of the woods yet. So it tells you to output the next line, right? So you output, this is the next line. C out 1, comma 2, comma space 3. Same way that you output the first line. So you come down, what is what is 1? What is 1? 1 is actually 3. Right? Here's your 1. See, this is your 1. That's your 3. What's your 2? Your 2 is actually 7. Okay, so space 7, comma, and your C, your 3, is actually your 3, which is 24. Okay. Let me check the time on this thing. All right.